Welcome everyone to the 5th Annual Ladies Divisional Championship. This takes place at West Thompson Lake in Connecticut. And my name is Eleanor Poore.
And I'm Kelly Jenkins. Welcome aboard and let's go watch some disc golf. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Rapscallion Brewery, Tap Room, and Disc Golf in Sturbridge, Mass. Go grab a beer and throw some frisbees.
Now this tournament is played as the Team Challenge style. Now if you're not from New England, Team Challenge is where two teams play against each other. The first round is singles match play, and the second round is doubles stroke play.
We will be watching the double stroke play today, so sit back folks, and what you're going to see is a competition between 4 people, best shot style. There's my friend Becky, and we're going to make sure to entertain you all as best as we can.
So these are some fun shots from the first round where everyone's playing match play, maybe some shots from warm-up, and so getting a little preview into what some of the holes look like.
And there's the trophy we're all competing for. Beautiful, beautiful trophy.
Now this is put together each year by Lezlie Jumanji. He has helped really organize it with New England Women's Disc Golf to then set up a team, make them as even as possible, and get everybody together and plan out which course it's going to be at.
So this match play is actually going to feature myself and Kaye Harper for Team West versus
Ashley Toomey and Fallon Enman for Team East.
And Toomey will be known as Toomey from now on. So hole 1 was a little dink and dunk course hole for me, but the problem was there was a lot of trees to hit and you couldn't go directly to the course.
Yeah, it has a good left hand hyzer, but it has a good right hand anhyzer upshot. So it's about 200 feet, and you can see Kelly here. She's a lefty, so you'll be seeing that line a lot today.
I decided I needed to hit a tree to start the day to get the nerves out. Now Kaye, my partner, she has been playing disc golf for only maybe 3 or 4 years now, and to watch her game improve has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been noticing Kaye getting much, much better the last 2 years. And now here's that anhyzer route. See, Toomey almost had it right, but nicked that tree on the left.
And Fallon went a little bit wider with her shot and caught some of the shrub and went off to the left.
But you can see that it's still very open once you get around the initial corner to do a nice little upshot, get up and down for that 3.
There's a lot of low ceiling shots on this course, I discovered, and this first approach to this basket I feel like is the very first low ceiling shot that we come across.
Well, being in New England, it changes so much throughout the year. Like a lot of these lines might be much more open in the wintertime, but we've got all those fresh leaves hindering the way in May.
Yep. So Kaye just laid up for me to have a nice little run at it, and I did a great job of hitting that branch because that was the goal.
And Toomey's lining up this little bit of a long putt here.
Just a little bit off to the right, but it's set up close enough for the comeback putt.
We've got Fallon just coming up short there.
Sometimes I feel like the camera makes the basket a little bit further away from you, or maybe a little bit more to the left than you're aiming, until you get used to having it there peering at you the whole time.
Yeah, or the basket just kind of wants to dance around in front of the camera, like it just shot right up there.
So we had a slow start on this hole right here. We finished with the par, and Toomey and Fallon ended up with the bogey, but luckily there's 17 more holes to go. Hole number 1 was the 5th easiest hole on the course.
Coming up to hole 2 next. This was the 3rd easiest hole in the doubles round. That averaged just under par at 2.8, and there were a total of 8 birdies between all the different doubles teams.
With Kaye going first, she's going to try to hang it out to the right to get around that corner, but it looks like she went a little bit too tight.
Yeah, you do not want to get caught up in the deep left because there's lots of little skinny trees in the way. Now Kelly did her signature overhand shot and put it right under the basket, so that seems to be working out pretty well today so far.
First throw, pretty lucky. If I knew how to flick, I would have thrown a flick there, but that's my replacement for a flick. That was a nice shot by Fallon.
Yeah, that's a very nice straight up the center, easy for a right-handed backhand player. Now Toomey's going to try and get just a little bit better, but she knows her partner is parked, so she's just going for it.
Yep, went a little bit high with the release. About a 20-footer here. off the right side.
Just barely.
And that is what makes doubles such a wonderful, wonderful thing. You have a partner.
You see, she knows that the 3 is a guarantee, so she can shake those nerves right off to put it right in the basket.
And there was the first birdie of the round for both teams. And that's going to kind of open it up. We hope for a lot more birdies as we go along. Coming up on hole 3, it was actually the second easiest hole on the course. It played out at a 2.772 average with 6 birdies. This hole here, I felt that you had 2 options. You could do as a lefty, you could do a hyzer to the left, and as a righty, you could go the right side.
Yeah, so you can kind of see there's 2 main fairways here. Kaye is choosing to take the right side fairway. Now, she makes it most of the way there and can have a look at the basket.
I'm going for the left side fairway, and since she's halfway up there, I've decided to cut it close on the inside and see if I could make it, and I cut it close.
Yeah, and that's the risk of a lot of these short holes do have a lot of these trees in the way to make them a little bit tougher than if this was obviously a very, very open fairway.
That looked like the ideal line and the ideal roll.
Yep, had an even little scoot closer to the basket there. Here we are, our first flight track of the round.
I'm glad you said tracka, because I wasn't sure with my southern accent if I could pull that off or not.
Well, I'll do my best to represent New England here. Yeah, see that little bounce.
Fallon's deciding to try to go up the side that I went up, and she did the opposite of me and went out too far to the left. So we got about a 35-footer here, maybe 40-footer. And all of a sudden, I was able to find a putt.
So here's a little replay for you. Making it look easy there.
Well, I'm glad that the camera did that for me. And then here's where you want your putt to be from. You don't want to have to throw in 45-footers. If you can have a 3-footer like Toomey just did, that's really the way to go. So now that's 2 back-to-back birdies by both teams.
Yeah, so it seems like everybody's getting in their rhythm now. So hole 4, this is the next hole coming up, and this was tied for the 6th easiest hole. There were 4 birdies, and this is about 250 feet straight up the gut.
Don't hit the trees on either side of the fairway.
You do not want to hit those goalpost trees there. The gateway, either side of the fairway is really messy if you hit there. But luckily, this is the most open hole so far at the course.
Yes, and it has a low ceiling also, so you can't just get some height on it.
Oh, Kelly.
Since I can't throw a hyzer that far, I decided to throw a flex shot and try to get as much distance with my wraith that I could.
Here's another flight tracker for everyone. All right, see that little turnover? Hyzer out, skippity-doo-dah, right to the basket.
Right, that was pretty much full flight for me. And here comes Fallon.
That was beautiful.
Now Fallon looks like she has a similar line, just the right-handed version of that.
And all of a sudden, another flight tracker. She had far less flex on hers than I did. Hers was a little bit more of a hyzer shot based on that line. You'll notice Toomey does a lot of standstills when she's on the tee pad.
Yeah, Toomey is one of those players who has a really solid routine down, and you'll see her do a lot of the same sort of lineup, the same sort of motions. And it really seems to work for her.
Front of the basket again.
You can see that disappointment. We've all been there. We've all really wanted that birdie putt.
Toomey overcorrected and went to the top of the basket. So far, we've had a turkey on my side, which is something that you can only hope for, because as this course plays along, it gets more and more difficult. It starts off kind of like an easy, here you go, welcome to a nice friendly course, and then all of a sudden it's not so much that way.
Yeah.
So hole 5 is playing at 3.045. It's also tied for the 6th easiest course. There were 0 birdies on this hole, folks.
So you can see you start out on the edge right past the basket of the previous hole. You go over this little field section. There's a big guardian tree in the middle of the fairway, but there's lines to either side of that guardian tree, and then you go back into the woods just a little bit, over the river and through the woods, to then the basket.
Kaye got a little bit caught up on the right side there. I'm going to try to throw a flex shot here because it worked for me on the last hole, but I threw it too low.
Oh, I got it too low.
Now we have Fallon trying to go straight at it.
She has a much better height. That's the height you want to get that shot on.
Because it starts to go, you can see it slowly slopes downhill throughout the whole fairway. So, oh, if you get that nice turnover there and slide right up to the basket, you can maybe get there.
The grass is so green on this course right now. We've been waiting for this kind of weather. That nearly went in for all winter long. And finally, this was, I think, the first 80-degree day of the year. And it's like it was planned just for us all to go out there and throw some Frisbees.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Everyone had a really great time being in the sun, having such a nice temperature out, and it wasn't too humid either.
So this is Kaye's mine's first really technical, challenging shot. We had really bad footing. So my left foot is down in a hole, and we had to kind of weave it through some trees, and we kind of botched it a little bit.
So there's our third shot.
Kaye is getting so much better at her putting. I'm focusing right now, even as a commentator. Come on, Kelly, you got this.
You can tell you really want it. Yeah. And that extra little bit of focus just helped you nail it right in. Now here's Toomey with her another tap-in putt. Easy threesy.
And the next hole we're coming up to is our first chance of losing Frisbees all day long.
Right, so this is one of the first few water holes. There is a pond off to the right-hand side. You can't really see it, but it's past those bushes there. And the ground gets really, really wet. There's the pond. Then you kind of go over this little access road, which is not OB, that's just casual, and then to the basket underneath this big tree.
This is actually the 15th most difficult hole on the course, and it played very far over par. So I thought I'd thrown a perfect flex on this one to get as much distance as I could, and I skipped it into the water.
Right in.
And so Kaye's like, you know what, Kelly Jenkins, if you can throw in the water, so can I.
Oh no, bummer. That is the first rule in doubles. You do not want to mess up at the same time as your partner does, and especially not in the same way. So you guys are going to be having to fight back to get a bogey now. Now we have Toomey just doing a nice safe shot. That's really where you want to be if you can't make it all the way over the road, is just to the left. Not in that pond, getting ready to do an upshot.
And Fallon, she threw her hyzer out there, maybe a little bit safer than she was meaning to.
A little extra safe there.
But they also have a wonderful upshot now. Where that shed is, that's where we're going to throw to, just to the left of it. So you're throwing, and then your disc is going to kind of drift down a hill or into the basket.
Yeah, so that was an almost ideal upshot there. And so hopefully then Fallon will take this opportunity to really go for it.
Looks like she didn't get quite the turnover she was thinking of.
Yeah, and again, that little creek right there is a casual creek. It's not always wet. Sometimes when it's a really dry section of the summer, that creek is pretty dry there. Kaye did an upshot there from the edge of the pond, just trying to get it somewhere safe. And now Kelly gets a chance to maybe get a little bit closer.
It's fun to watch discs fly. I'm just going to randomly say that. I went a little bit deep, but I wanted to make sure I got there as a doubles partner. And that's the first bogey of the round for us. Both teams now have a bogey. There's how many other women out playing right now, do you think? 20 other teams that are out there?
I think there were about a dozen teams on each team, on each side, on the west side and the east side. So yeah, I think there were, give or take, 20 to 24 teams.
Okay, so now we're moving on to hole 7. This hole right here is a dogleg to the right. It's a little bit of a challenge to get far enough to where you can have a straight shot into the basket. The worst thing you want to do is go too far to the right to begin with. You want to make sure that you can reach the basket somehow or another.
Right, so this is a wide open field, but if you're throwing just straight from the tee box, then you're going to have just as far of an upshot as you would have. It would have been like an equilateral triangle. Then, so Toomey tried to do a little turnover. Fallon is also doing much more aggressive turnover line to try and get around that corner, and that seemed to be really successful there.
That is perfect.
Yeah, that is
Even
pretty
though you
ideal.
can't see her disc, it is lying in the exact spot you want it to be.
Yeah, now we have this viewpoint. Kaye doing another turnover shot, but it seemed to be a little low and cut rolled.
So I was thinking I'm going to really get some distance on this, and when it came out of my hand, I felt myself turn it over, and I got it caught up in the wind, and away it went.
Right.
So we've left ourselves some hard work.
Right, it's at least open, but it's still quite a ways from the basket.
And
And that, this is definitely where you don't want to be. Turning over too early right before the basket. See all those guardian trees in the way and that big pile of mulch. It's just not a place you want to be at. Now, Kelly seems to look at what happened with Kaye's shot and correct a little bit. Went a little past the basket, but definitely has an open but long putt getting ready to finish the hole out.
You can see with the grass blowing that the wind is starting to pick up. There's a lot of field play on this course. Probably the next 3 or 4 holes will be played in the field. And Toomey got caught up on the right side. So I watched Kaye's shot and I'm like, okay, I think the wind pushed her shot down just a little bit. So I'm going to go a little bit higher.
And you nailed it. So we have a little replay there.
Looked like Kaye was pointing at it to go on, go on. Look, me running. You'll never see that again on camera.
But that's such a great feeling to hit a long putt and be able to run up and get your disc out of the basket.
It is.
Fallon was hoping for that same thing.
A little bit short.
And Toomey just a little bit right.
So that upshot is the trick to this hole, in my opinion. The second shot, if you don't get near the basket, you're really going to struggle to get the putt in. So after 7 holes, we're shooting 2 under in Team East. Fallon and Toomey, they're at even. Still lots of golf to go.
Right, and we haven't seen very many of the real tough holes yet. This is not one of them. This is right in the middle. It was tied for the 10th easiest hole. It's a straight throw, but you have 2 options. You can either go down that left alleyway, or you can go around to the right-hand side. There's that scraggle bush and those small trees right in the middle there, and you, one way or another, have to go around them to then go another 100 feet or so to the basket itself.
Yes, it's a drop-down shot on the approach. And I think scraggle bush is the technical scientific name for that bush.
Yes, I consulted Scientologists about it.
They were the ones that know. So I think Toomey was going to try to go on the right side and maybe just released it a little bit early, and they're now over pinched onto the left side.
Right, that was luckily still a little bit short enough to be open through the alleyway. Fallon also came up a bit short, and this tall grass doesn't really help with that situation. It just kind of stops your disc wherever it landed.
Now, I feel like this upshot here is really tricky because there's so many low-lying branches that either you have to throw with a lot of speed to go around the outside, or you're just going to fade out. I don't know how to keep it from fading out.
And Fallon was able to hang it out a little bit further right, get it all the way into the shadow of the tree, and so that's definitely a putt there. Now Kelly coming around from where Kaye's drive landed.
We came up just a little bit short on that one. Come on, Toomey, you got this one.
Just a little bit high. Now Fallon gets her chance to try. Hitting the side cage. There's just lots of putts that just weren't quite making it in. I know I feel really frustrated when that's happening out there for me. And I can't imagine, the frustration being at top card, really trying to get some points in for your team.
Yeah, it's I felt like that she was on line with her putts. It was just the height was a touch off, but when your height is just a touch off, it's easy to fix that. So I'm sure she'll hit some putts later on.
Right. So walking away with 1 bogey, 1 par. On to hole 9.
Hole 9 ended up being right in the middle as the 9th easiest or 9th hardest, whichever way you want to look at it, hole with a 3.363 average. I feel like this hole has more trees than footage by far.
Definitely. This is similar to hole 1. It's a little bit longer because it's 230 feet, and it has that same anhyzer line or left-hand hyzer line. However, there are just a lot more trees, and you can see right there that sometimes hitting the first available tree seems like it might be the best option.
I worked hard for that one.
Right.
I want you to know I hit what I aimed for.
Right, but you
just
can,
then.
if you see the tree, and oh, there's a little critter there, and so sometimes you have critters in the way, also trying to interfere with those shots.
That's what happened. I saw that squirrel and it made me hit that tree. I'm sure of it.
But you can see all the nicks and all the scratches on these trees coming up. And so you can see that this is one of the holes where people hit trees a lot.
Right on cue. I imagine that there will be several more trees hit right here in a second by probably myself or Kaye or Toomey.
It's really like, did you
Nope.
play hole 9 if you didn't hit a tree at some point?
No. Toomey just made a great upshot. She threaded that needle. Kaye got a little bit of an unlucky kick there. She had the line but just hit the tree. I feel like I was a little bit lucky to be left-handed on this shot because it took that tree out of the play for me.
Mm-hmm. So being able to land right in the dirt and have that disc slide to a stop for this nice easy putt there.
So right now I'm looking like I'm still pretty fit, but that's because we've not played hole 10.
No. So both teams are walking away with a par for this tricky hole. It's not too long, but it is tricky. So the score remains after 9 holes at -2 for Kelly and Kaye for Team West and +1 for Toomey and Fallon for Team East.
Here we are on hole 10, the first par 4 that we've had of the day, 650 feet. It was the most difficult hole on the course, and that's probably because there's out of bounds the entire right side of the fairway, and then if you go to the left, there is a marsh.
So it's not even necessarily the distance that's the hardest part of this hole. You do not want to be in that riprap. First of all, it's out of bounds. Second of all, it'll chew up your discs. Third of all, it is a bit of a hazard to go even get your disc, even if your partner is inbounds. So we had Kelly land right in the middle of the fairway. Kaye pinched off a little bit to the left, but they're going to be looking at an okay second shot.
So that disc right there is flying towards Sam, who was brave enough to climb up on those rocks and film these throws. So thank you, Sam. Thank you, Marc, for being out there on this beautiful day. I'm sure you suffered mightily on the first 80-degree day of the summer. That was a bomb right there by Fallon.
That is an ideal landing spot of right where you want to be. Now you can see the previous card, which is a card that I'm on, we got a little stuck because we had a disc in the marsh there, and we just could not find it. It must have sunk into the water.
So there's that riprap we were talking about. I thought, you know, I will make sure to throw it into it because that's what you do.
So Kaye gets a chance to throw her shot. Definitely playing it safe. It's the wise thing to do.
It was. We learned from the other hole where we both went OB. This is a tough angle that they're making their approach on because you want to cut off as much distance as you can, but
that means that you're flying over the OB almost the whole entire way. And
yes.
so that's where Fallon went out pretty much immediately. Toomey then gets her chance, and same sort of results there.
There's that thing, never make the same mistake on the same card.
Mm-hmm.
We should have listened to you. Toomey, you've made a great outshot. So they're throwing 4 now because of
the OB.
Mm-hmm.
And Fallon putting just a little bit more anhyzer on that. They should be right next to each other. Maybe Fallon made it a little bit further.
So if Kaye had gotten this throw just a little bit shorter, it would have been ideal. But luckily it spit out right into the middle, so I thought, you know, let's do dumb stuff. Sometimes dumb stuff works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes dumb stuff is just dumb stuff, but you can see that you got all the way pin high there. So if that had just been a little bit further to your left, then it would have been a great landing zone.
Yeah.
You have Fallon keep it just barely in bounds there. Toomey's hyzering in and right under the basket. So Kaye doing her upshot up to the basket. Those will both be tap-in putts. Let's see what Kelly can do.
I had 2/3 of the equation down. I had the height, and I had the distance, but I didn't have the line.
But both teams will tap out. They'll be finishing this hole. Kaye and Kelly will be walking away with a bogey, and Fallon and Toomey will be walking away with that double bogey. Unfortunately, because they went out of bounds, and Kelly and Kaye did not.
That's the only difference on that hole, whether or not you can stay in bounds.
Yeah, but there's many times where that hole, you'll walk away with an 8, you'll walk away with a 10. I've seen many people go out of bounds multiple times on that hole. Luckily, with doubles, you get those extra chances.
So we have just walked away from the most difficult hole right onto the easiest hole on the course.
Right, so this one, it seems a lot easier than it is. You just have to throw it straight down the hill, about 220 feet.
When I worked in a disc golf store, I had a customer that would come in and say, they were new to the game, they were like, I need you to sell me a disc that flies straight. And I told them I would buy the disc from them if they could find one.
It is the hardest throw in disc golf. But so far we've seen 2 pretty phenomenal drives, just getting it right down there towards the basket. Fallon unfortunately did what many players do and cut it off to the right a little bit and hit one of those trees. Toomey, on the other hand, she was able to get it all the way down there. It hyzered out a little bit more to the left than I'm sure she was looking for, but definitely down there and puttable.
A lot of obstacles on this putt.
And there it goes! I forgot about that.
Look at this. Solid.
Boom.
Yeah, walk. That's the victory walk right there, Toomey. Nicely done. So it's always hard to hit a putt after you've just had somebody throw in a 50-footer right in your face. It makes the basket smaller.
Yeah, you do not want to get big putted. Luckily, you were able to keep your cool and just put it right in. Now both teams are walking away with a birdie on this hole. Total, this hole did have 9 birdies, so that is the most birdies on all of the holes was on hole 11, which makes a lot of sense.
So we're trucking right along. Hole 12. There's one of those low ceilings again you were talking about in New England.
This one, however, that big tree has a lot of those branches that are sticking out, and that doesn't change much in the winter there. You can see that guardian branch.
Kaye was like, I'm not going to throw at that guardian branch. I'm going to throw at the shrubbery before.
Yeah,
so
she
I
seemed
did
a
not,
bit surprised by that release too.
I think so. So I did not want to make her mistake, so I overcorrected and threw it into the left. Somewhere in there is my disc, I promise you. This hole ended up being the 13th most difficult. It had an average of 3.5 and nobody got a 2 on it.
Toomey, however, laced it straight up the middle there and got all the way into the sunspot. And so she's definitely looking for an easy 3 from there.
Look at that flex line.
Yeah, Fallon seemed to match her. So they definitely have a 3-able look there. We'll see if they're able to deliver it.
Momentum is in their favor on this hole because look where we're at. I promise you that's Kaye and not me or anyone else.
Thankfully, both of you are pretty tall, so I can't imagine having to pitch myself out of there.
Well, so now I'm just looking. I'm like hoping and hoping and hoping that I can throw something, and that might have been the luckiest shot I've thrown in a while.
Wow. Yeah. When you're stuck somewhere like that and you know vaguely where the basket is, that is definitely best case scenario. Now there it is. Fallon did her nice upshot, up and down for that 3. Let's see if Toomey can throw it in.
He's definitely trying.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, when we walked up, Kaye and I didn't know where our disc was at. So when we got here and we saw it was this close, it was a bit of a shock. That's one of those you got lucky pars.
Yeah, sometimes you can play as best as you can and get unlucky. Sometimes you can make egregious mistakes and still get lucky. That's what makes disc golf so interesting sometimes. So after 12 holes, Team West is 2 down and Team East is +2. So there's still a third of the course left to play, and we are on hole 13.
Hole 13 was the 6th easiest hole on the course. It averaged out at 3.045 and it had 4 birdies. The trick is to miss the tree in the middle of the fairway and then the thousands of other trees that are lining the fairway.
Yeah. This one has a really great right-handed flick line if you kind of hug the those inner trees right there on the right-hand side, or if you are a lefty and you're throwing a backhand.
That was kind of my plan. I'm like, when I was born, I'm like, I'm going to throw left-handed just for hole 13
Yeah,
at West
every moment in your life has been leading up just to that throw.
And it worked.
You've peaked.
That's it. I retire.
Yeah.
All right, and Fallon was trying to do that Anheuser line. That is, in my opinion, the second most reliable line that you can put on this hole. And now here's Toomey lining up her Anheuser throw.
She got the ante to start, but then it just kind of faded out at the end and got wedged up behind a couple of trees. They'll have about 45, 50 feet to go.
Right, and it's not that far away, but you can see that there's all these trees in the way, so they're going to be putting in between those trees right there.
I like how Toomey is very assertive. She's like, I am going to make this putt, pretty much from everywhere.
Right, I mean, that's how you want to play doubles. You want to be going for almost everything. You want to make sure that you're giving it a chance, and you're trusting in your partner to either before you or after you, like, do the best that they can too. Now Kaye just slam dunks it right in there for that 2, and Toomey taps it in for that 3.
Now we're moving on to a really quirky hole. Quirky, I think, is the word that I would use to describe it.
Right, so this hole used to be different. It used to be a short throw down the hill towards the lake. I'm assuming that they changed it because lots of people were just throwing their discs straight into the lake, and they made it go down the side of the lake. So the lake itself is about 100 feet, maybe 50 feet at some points to the left, and so usually that doesn't come into play. I've never seen someone go OB into the lake, but that would definitely be worst case scenario, getting one of those kicks and going into the lake.
So on this hole, I think a lot of people's strategy is, okay, I'm going to aim at that tree way up there in the distance and hope I don't hit what I aim for.
Right. This one, there's a couple options for the lines. None of them are really fully open. This is, again, kind of a classic New England short hole where you have to weave your way through the trees to get there.
This played out to be the 12th most difficult hole on the course.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Even though it's short, it's a little tricky.
Yep. It had an average of 3.454, and there was only one birdie on this hole the entire day.
Now Fallon was trying to take that S-line shot, and she just came up a little bit short. So it looks like they're taking Toomey's throw.
What a great move on it right there.
Right. Putter Anheuser up shot. It definitely had a chance of going in. Fallon, same sort of try, but hung it out a little bit left.
So we're just outside of the circle, I believe. Maybe circle's edge. Nice little layup there by Kaye.
Nice birdie.
And what do you know?
So there's that slow motion replay. Kelly's putt, you can see it fluttering in.
Yeah, that's a flutter for sure. I'm discovering that I probably can't putt in the wind very well because of how much my disc flutters. So thank you for a calm day.
Yeah, luckily all those trees do block the wind. When it is windy on this course, that hole is at least not too bad.
Yep.
So we have another birdie, another par, putting us at -4 and +2.
So now we're moving to the point where there was a long delay before this hole.
Right, I think there were like 3.5 card backup. You could see me in the background looking at Kelly putting while I was waiting for my team to tee off. Now you have, you know, after that long wait, sometimes it's hard to get yourself back into gear and get back into the rhythm of those throws. So Kaye came up a little bit short, landed in the long grass there. Kelly with her signature overhand and getting a friendly little roll right up the fairway.
When I start getting tired, I rely more on my overhand. It feels like it's a more consistent throw for me. But also, the backhand would have actually been the proper throw there for me. But I'm happy with that.
Right. Well, when you get tired, you want to rely on what you know how to do, what feels more consistent for you. This is a long day. Even though it's a doubles round for the second round, it's a very long day. And keep in mind that this is the second round for all of the players.
So this is their second par 4 of the day. It's the only other par 4 on the course. And it played out to an average of 4.409, and it tied for 10th as the most difficult hole on the course. And there was also only one birdie on this hole. And that was from Rose and Ashley. Well done. How you got a 3 on this one, I'm not sure.
Nearly fell down.
So here's Toomey with that upshot. Right in the middle of the fairway, just trying to make it around those trees and up the hill to the basket.
It's a much steeper hill right there than what it looks like.
Right, it's a very long, gradual hill, and so it doesn't look as much like you're throwing uphill when it's in this video, but trust me, it goes quite a ways uphill.
I don't know if you can tell in the background, but there's some shrubs. I don't know if it's the same ones that are on the other hole or not.
These might be some more scraggle bushes.
They might be.
They sometimes feel a little bit like a backstop though, because they're not so terrible. You can at least get in them and then putt out. And so sometimes it feels a little bit of an assurance knowing that you have that backstop right behind the basket to just go for it.
I really wanted this 3, but instead I got the scraggle bush. If you get any disc down on the ground today, if it's not dirt, it's not moving at all. Watch this putt right here from Toomey. That's like a big stretch.
Yeah, I had to get around that scraggle bush that's hanging out on the edge there, and she seems happy with that. I know that sometimes straddle putts, you don't feel like you have the same if you're not very used to doing that type of putt.
So we both walked away with pars on that hole, which is pretty good because it probably was a 10 or 15 minute break that we had there where we were just sitting around looking for shade.
Right, so you can see there's a 6-stroke difference now in between the two teams, and we're going in with 3 holes to go. Hole 16, this is a par 3, it's a little over 400 feet, and what's really tricky about this hole is that there's not only some trees on either side of the fairway, but it's on a peninsula, so there's definitely a lot of risk of your disc going into the water, especially on a windy day.
And even though there wasn't a lot of wind in other places of the course, I felt like that here on this peninsula there was certainly some wind.
There's always wind on that peninsula. There's, you know, it's just cutting straight through the dam. You can see, so this is also the prettiest tee box because you can see the dam in the background. You can see cars going down the road, and you just want to really be in the middle of this.
So Kaye put us down in the bottom. And I was like trying to get as far to in the middle as I could, and I just held on to it for too long.
Right, so you and Toomey went off to the left a little bit. And then Fallon has his turnover shot. Oh, let's see where it lands. So that looks like it's right on the edge, maybe just barely in there. And so Toomey's going to be pitching out, doing her signature Anheuser pitch out shot. And that worked out pretty well. They're definitely there for a putt. Sorry.
Uh-oh, where's my mini? Oh, there it is.
So this is the time of year where there's lots of tall grass. Depending on what color your mini is, it might be hard to find. Fallon's also trying to do that Anheuser shot, but it comes up a little bit left and gets caught in those trees.
Kaye and I had ourselves pinched a little bit here on the left side. So we had to go a lot wider than we would have wanted to reach this hole. And then I just chose the wrong disc. I chose to throw my putter, and I probably should have chose my Mako 3 instead because I just didn't get the glide. Kaye just got bit by 3,000 bumblebees or something. I'm sure that's what happened. And they're still after me. I'm focusing, but the bumblebees are everywhere.
Right, and there were these guys fishing there. And so they might have been a little bit of a distraction too.
Could have been.
Right, and this basket just was not open for business at this point. There was no vacancy. But everyone's able to tap in for their bogeys and walk it off.
And that was why that tied for the most difficult hole on the course.
Mm-hmm.
That second shot on that one is so important, and then we both just missed the putts.
Right, so I would definitely say hole 10 and hole 16 are the two most difficult holes on the course for different reasons, but still long, has a lot of OB risks. And now we're coming to hole 17. So this is a longer hole too, but it at least makes a bit of sense. You go down from the tee box in the field through these guardian trees. You can see there you have many options of which goalposts you want to go through, and then you go off to the left a little bit from there.
Kaye got hung up on the left side, trying, I think she was more hoping to throw a flex. It scared me enough to where I decided to throw a thumber rather than my backhand, just to get up as far on the right side, because I feel like you want to be as far to the right as possible to not get pinched in.
Right, it's definitely better to go through the middle gap or the right hand gap, kind of right where Sam is filming from catch cam right there, to then be able to have more of an open straight shot down to the basket from there. Fallon's up on that right hand edge. Toomey looking to go straight up the middle, but maybe hazard out a little bit earlier than she was expecting.
I think this hole here, this second shot, is one of the most fun shots on this course. You've got to first bring it through that gap, and then you're throwing downhill to a hole that you cannot see, and lo and behold, they did it.
Right, and sometimes I feel like you can throw a lot further than you think that you can because of how it slopes downhill. It's a little bit of an ego boost right there.
Toomey misjudged the distance. So I'm trying to throw the thumber so that I can get some sort of skip, and I just misjudged the distance a little bit and got caught off on the right side past the basket, but that's an okay throw.
Yeah. If you're too long, then you are in more of those trees and bushes, and it might be hard to find your disc or even get out of there. Yeah. So similarly, Kaye looks like she's the same distance away, but was coming up short, so it seems like they're taking your putt.
She laid up there. She's like, just sit. So I really want this putt after missing the last one. And I wanted it enough, I just missed. That a good putt right there, Fallon.
Right, so Toomey and Fallon played this hole pretty ideally. They had their straight drive, they had their upshot, which went straight towards the basket, and then they nailed that putt. So they came away with a par, Callie and Kaye came away with a bogey, and now we are 5 strokes apart.
We are finally coming to the end of the round, hole 18. It is a little bitty dogleg to the right. It's a challenging hole for me as a lefty because I don't really have the power to throw up over top of everything, which you need to do. It's probably plays more like a 260, 270 because of having to throw over top of that stuff as a lefty.
Right, so it's a really aggressive backhand Anheuser line for right-handed players. Toomey had definitely the right idea there, just hit that tree.
See if Fallon can adjust off of Toomey's throw. She can.
Wow, and you can see that is almost ideal right there. That is definitely a putt.
Hole 18 played as the 4th easiest hole on the course with an average of 2.863, and it had 4 birdies.
And it's definitely a hole that's nice to end on because you don't have to really unleash your arm. It's nice to have a hole that's only just over 200 feet to kind of end your day at.
Yeah, and I threw mine 120.
Kaye's trying that same inner backhand Anheuser route, and it hyzered out into those small trees there.
Yeah, so we got stuck in the shrubs. Kaye was like, I'm going to lay up, you be aggressive. I really wanted this, but can't have what you want all the time.
Fallon also really wanted that putt.
Out of way.
Luckily with partner golf, Toomey was able to capitalize on that and have confident putt in to end her round.
And there you have it, folks. That was 18 holes of disc golf with the Ladies Divisional Championships for New England Disc Golf.
So you have Kelly and Kaye, Team Tall, walking away with that par on that hole. The whole round was -2, total of 54. Remember, we had those 2 par 4s on the course. Toomey and Fallon ending with that birdie, bringing their score down to +2. And so here are the scores for all of Team West and all of Team East during the doubles rounds.
Team West took it with 27 points against Team East 17 points. There was a lot of good scores out there. It's been produced by New England Disc Golf Productions and ActonTV.
And we'd like to once again thank our sponsor, Rapscallion Brewery and Tap Room. You can play there, and we would also like to thank Lezlie Jumanji for putting all of this together.
And there's our wonderful production crew, Marc Duci, Sam Gaddes, Dan Snyder, Eleanor Poore.
And this has been commentated on by Kelly Jenkins and Eleanor Poore. So thanks all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of the season.
And go play disc golf.